know, we have a lot of demonstrations in this space, and I was really worried that we couldn't fit all of you in. But while you're standing here, I want you to look around, because I want you to understand that you're in the warm embrace of brothers and sisters from the labor movement. In fact, this building is filled with members of CUPE 38, the largest CUPE union in Alberta. I've been with you for the past 3 days, and in those 3 days I've heard lots of inspirational talk about nurses, your profession, the work that you do to protect healthcare, our Medicare system. But I just want to tell you a couple of things about the importance of unions and union activism, which you know very well, but I just want to remind you about the power that comes from acting together. Delegates from Alberta will know that we've gone through something of a radical transformation here in Alberta. 2 years ago, as a province, we did something that a lot of people never expected that we would do. We elected Alberta's first majority progressive New Democrat government in what everyone thought was a conservative province. And while that was obviously a victory for the New Democrats and for their leadership, I just want to put it out there that it would not have happened if the labor movement if not for the labor movement led by unions like the nurses, hadn't for the last 10 or 15 years been planting seeds of doubt about conservative policies like austerity and seeds of hope about progressive alternatives. It was that kind of activism on the issues that changed the mind of Albertans in such a way that allowed us to do the impossible and elect a progressive government, even in a place like Calgary. And so what have we been doing with this historic opportunity? Well, I think a lot of the Alberta delegates who are here with us today can tell you about some of the things that have happened over the last 2 years. And I just want to focus on one thing in particular that happened over the last couple of months. Our federation, with the support of unions like United Nurses of Alberta, we launched a campaign to transform Alberta's backward labor laws. And that campaign culminated just this week at 2:25 a.m., Monday of this week. The legislature passed Bill 17, which transformed our labor code and our employment standards code. Before that legislation was passed, to say that our labor laws were outside of the Canadian mainstream would have been an understatement. In fact, our laws were so far outside of the Canadian mainstream here in Alberta that it was almost like we were in a different country. In fact, I would say that country looked a lot like the United States. That's what our labor laws look like. And now, as a result of the new legislation that was passed just this week, working people here in Alberta have the same kinds of rights and protections in the workplace as other Canadians. And this is a quantum leap forward for working people in this province, and it would not have happened without the support of unions like the United Nurses of Alberta. So that's the message I want to leave with you today, that working people working together in their unions can transform societies, they can transform government policy, and they can literally transform the lives of working people. And I just want to say that when it comes to nurses in particular, among the unions, and I don't want to say I'm picking favorites, but there are 29 unions under the umbrella of our federation, which is similar in other provinces. We are, the logic of workers coming together in unions, we're stronger when we come together as individuals and unions. The same logic applies for the labor movement. We're stronger when we come together as organizations fighting for common ends. And but when it comes to that strength that comes from collective action, the nurses actually have a particularly important role to play. And they have a particularly important and powerful role to play for 3 reasons. Because not only do you realize that power that comes from collective action, you actually have some advantages over the rest of our unions. So for example, I think about your values, the values that animate you as professionals. Those values about working together towards common ends is something that you embody as nurses and you bring to your union activism. It makes you particularly strong. The second thing that sets you apart from other unions is your stature with the public. As Sir Robert said earlier today, there's probably no other profession in the country and perhaps in the world that has the kind of public respect that nurses have. And it's well-deserved respect and it's well-earned respect, but it's respect that you can turn towards your goals as an organization and your goals as a labor movement. As sometimes those goals are internal goals, like Heather said, winning internal professional responsibility under our collective agreements. And sometimes they're broader societal goals, like fighting against austerity and winning, like fighting against privatization and winning. I'm going to just wrap up with this and say this. This strength that you have because of your collective strength as a union, your values that you have as professionals, and the stature that you have with the public can allow you to do great things, not just defensive things like fighting austerity, not just defensive things like fighting against privatization, but aggressive, progressive things like changing the country for the better. So I'm convinced that with the leadership of unions like UNA here in Alberta and the CFNU on the national stage, 10 years from now or 15 years from now when we gather together for a rally like this, we will be looking back on new victories like a pharmacare program for Canada.